Okay, this is a Patreon related video. If it's nice actually to record. I've been recording, especially because I've been recording for about 5 hours today already on stuff that's not scripted, but it's highly laid out and rigid, the format that I wanted to say what I wanted to say, which is takes a lot more mental effort than just being able to sit here and talk to a camera without the green screen, without the softbox lights, and without having to phrase everything so it fits into the next bit. And get everything in that I've thought about saying over the preceding week and a half, and all the audio notes and the fucking written notes and everything arrayed around the room. So it's nice to just better talk to the camera. I want to talk about Patreon, and I want to move on and talk about something that Agent of Doubt asked me to talk about. I don't know, this is going to sound really nutty, I don't know whether he'd made a video or whether he'd done a Facebook post, I can't really recall, which does make me sound like I'm losing my mind. But what he talked about is what motivates people that have a few dollars a month to donate to somebody who's already making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month, as opposed to somebody that isn't making anything like as much, where they're much likely to be noticed as an individual pledger, and it's likely to make more difference, right? What is the motivation that goes on there? So I wanted to talk about that, but I'm tying it in. What I've said is every sort of 3 months I'm going to make a video asking people for donations if they enjoy my material, etc, etc, if they'd like to help me out. So I'm tying it in with that. So let's get that little bit out of the way, and then I'll discuss what Agent of Doubt had asked me to discuss and that I'd like to comment upon. What I will say first, because I've had a couple of criticisms before where people have said, oh, don't tell people why, or come up with these reasons as to why you want pledges, just tell them they've got a Patreon and they can decide. I have a fair idea from the people that I've spoken to that pledge from me that are probably about 2/3 of the pledges I'd get in any case. It's people that really enjoy what I do and they want to sponsor it. They're just motivated because they enjoy what I do and they want to give something back, and that is fantastic. But I do have a situation, and I don't see why I shouldn't mention that situation, and especially because that is the motivation for why I started my Patreon. Now, things have panned out a little bit different to how I anticipated. How I anticipated was that I'd be doing some extra work because my wife's she's reducing her workload by 20% because we've had a little boy, and that I'd need to do some extra work. Financially, certainly, we need the extra money. We've had to take a loan on to pay the mortgage while she was in the latter stages of maternity, and we've got a 20% less income and a boy to pay for. But it isn't really working out like that. The whole business of doing extra work probably wouldn't have worked because I work shifts and she doesn't. There's plenty of time when I'm at home on a daytime and she isn't, and it makes financial sense for me to provide daycare for my son. The problem is, I kind of naively thought, well, perhaps I could sort of do a bit of recording when he's asleep. I'll have an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, if I can get some recording done. And that is like sort of elite level naivety I had there, coupled with rose-tinted specs, coupled with wishful thinking. A good dollop of wishful thinking there. It's just not... Maybe you could record something like this in that time, but that's about it. And the time that we have together as a family, that is family time, and because I work a different pattern to her, it's pretty valuable time. So what we've decided is he has about 5-6 days childcare a month, and it's wonderful childcare. It's like a family, the place he goes to. It's absolutely fantastic, and there's all the other kids for him to interact with, and because he's 8 months old and most of them are a little bit older than him, he's learning so much from that. So it's no problem for me to see him have a couple more days a month. And so what we're kind of planning is that he's going to have probably about 3 days a month, every month. And those days, those extra days he has, is when I will record my videos, and that will cost about an extra £150 a month. Now, there is absolutely no way that we would be able to do that I could justify doing that rather than providing the free childcare myself if my Patreon wasn't up and running, and if I didn't have the wonderful 49 Patreons that I've got already. That has enabled me to do that, and that is a fantastic situation to be in, and going forward that's what I hope to do. That's what has happened today. That's what I've been filming today and yesterday, and I've got 3 videos, 11 hours recording over the 2 days, and enough footage. It's all done. I did all the prep work beforehand, I've had notes, audio notes that I've then had to write down. I sort of go around using my phone as a kind of dictaphone. Written bits of stuff that I researched out and little bits of things dictating how I was going to set each video out. So I've managed to go through them and get it all done in those 2 days, and then I can edit them as and when in little chunks of time that you can fit in, that you can break up, that you can do an hour and a half, you know, midnight till 1:30 in the morning or whatever, and then pick it up the next day and fit in another hour and a half. You can do it that way, that part of it. So the situation, perhaps the negative is that I'm spending 150 quid on childcare each month to allow me to keep doing something that I love. But the positive thing is I have a system that I know is going to work, and going forwards, as long as the Patreon stays buoyant, that I can keep making videos, keep doing what I do on YouTube, and something that I know a lot of people enjoy that I do on YouTube, which is a buzz for me that people enjoy it. So that's the situation now. If you do enjoy what I do and you're so motivated, then your support would be very, very much appreciated and very, very useful. Right, that's the end of the sell, okay, and of telling you where I'm at with that. That's that out the way for the next 3 months. Let's go on to what Agent of Doubt had to say. So he was looking at YouTubers, I think, like Sargon of Akkad and Thunderfoot and Rebecca Watson, who get $1,000 plus per video, okay? And they do it in different ways. Thunderfoot's $3,000 odd a video, I think. Rebecca Watson, I don't know, last time I saw $1,200, $1,300 a video, but she will pump out 3-minute video after 3-minute video with the minimal amount of effort, it would seem, to try and maximize that. Whereas Thunderfoot, to his credit, and I've said this before with regard to his Patreon, whether you think he's the biggest cunt in the world or you like him, in terms of a responsible Patreon user, you've got to say, you know, at $3,500 a video, you could milk the little udders of Patreon there dry, couldn't you? But he has been remarkably restrained with how many videos he said it pledged over the times. So I've got to say, I've got to add that in there with regard to that. But what motivates people? This is what Agent of Doubt was asking, to give money to people like that. To, you know, you're going to donate $2 a video, let's say, and somebody already stands at $3,000 a video, and maybe the day that you pledge, he's had another 3 pledges, and he's not even going to bother clicking on them. They'll just scroll through the email along with all the other emails. Oh, that's nice, I've got another pledge there from somebody, a couple of dollars. It's not even going to register. Why would you do that rather than seeing somebody else and thinking, well, actually, it would make a bigger difference to them, it might make a bigger difference to what they're capable of doing, or they're more likely to see me as an individual pledger and think, wow, fantastic, this particular person has pledged, I wonder what their story is, I wonder why they're pledging, which is something that you do think, actually, and I'll come into, because somebody wrote to me who'd made a pledge very recently, the last pledge that I had, in fact, the only pledge that I've had in about the last 6 or 7 weeks. Well, this is what I think is part of what's going on, and maybe I'll just give you a kind of analogy here. It's a more extreme example than perhaps going on with Rebecca Watson, Sargon of Akkad and Thunderfoot, but I think it's the same thing taking place here, which is, imagine there's a channel, Socialists Are Wankers, right, and you can imagine the material that that's going to involve. And then another channel, Capitalists Are Cunts, right? So you've got these 2 very polarised channels, one of which is adopting a position of capitalism, staunch position of capitalism, and that socialism will be the ruin, and socialist solutions will be the ruin of society, and another that fucking the bankers need to be lined up against the wall and shot through the face, you know. And compare those kinds of channels with another channel. Let's say I decided to do a channel on economics, which I promise you I'm not. I don't know enough to do that, but I did a channel and I said, right, what society actually needs, right, to have a functioning, healthy society is a balance between what you would typically regard as capitalist solutions and socialist solutions, so that you can have an economy that is viable, that is productive, that still innovates and still provides that competitive nature on a global scale, but at the same time you have this kind of social welfare mechanisms and the support structures and those things that we would like to see within our society that would be perhaps more typically socialist solutions to things. So you need a balance between the two things, and indeed that is the kind of solution that every Western government has maybe the balance has been different, but every Western government has ended up implementing over the years. So there's got to be something in that kind of solution rather than these extremes. And I would suggest that that channel would be the channel that 90% of people in the real world and probably 90% of people on YouTube would agree with. But it wouldn't be the channel that got the pledges. And the reason isn't that you know, people, that isn't the position that most people have. The reason is because the people that I propose, the people that agree with that more moderate position aren't the ones that are so highly ideologically motivated, and there's almost a kind of threshold to joining something like Patreon for most people and to pledging towards something that requires, perhaps it's a level of tribalism, or perhaps it's a level of sort of ideological, I don't want to say extremism, because that sounds more extreme than it needs to be. That is required before you think, yeah, do you know what, I'm sufficiently motivated to donate some money towards that. And it's the person that is entirely against capitalism or entirely against socialism that is sufficiently motivated to make that kind of donation. So what I think happens is more polarized perspectives. It's not that they are necessarily representative so much. And I'm not, like I say, I'm not suggesting that the Thunderfoots and the Rebecca Watsons are as polarised as the two examples that I gave there, but they are seen as polarised, as opposite ends of the spectrum, are they not, in terms of the things that they're involved in, and as representative of certain, you know, flag bearers for certain things. That it tends to make the debates look more polarised than they actually are. Is that it's the people that are from the polls, the outliers, in many ways the Thunderfoot outliers and the Rebecca Watson outliers, that are most likely to donate, rather than the people that are perhaps a little bit more central than that. And I think that is part of what is going on. And I do think that is a shame, but I just think that that's the way of things. And what can you do about that? With regard to that, one thing that did cheer me up a little bit was this. I got a pledge a week ago, and like I say, it's the first pledge I've had for about six weeks, but it was from this woman. She said she didn't want to, you know, she likes to remain anonymous. She doesn't want to be known on the internet or whatever. But I'm going to, whilst keeping her anonymity, I just wanted to read a couple of things she said. She said, I'm not brave enough to put myself out there, so I have to support the people who I think do a good job of representing my values. There are simply not enough fair voices out there tackling the issues you present. Anyway, thanks for not only being a voice of reason, but for encouraging others to be as fair as well. I enjoy your work immensely. Kind regards. Blah, blah, blah. So, you know, that really cheered me up, that, because I'd already thought about what Agent of Doubt had said, and I knew that I was going to be saying this in this video when I, you know, once I'd made it, which I am doing now. But this really kind of provided an antidote for that, because this person is kind of the person that you don't see very much of, the person that doesn't have one of those ideological, more extreme ideological positions at one end of a debate or the other, and yet is still motivated to want to see somebody that they feel represents them, that says that, or represents the kind of approach that they appreciate. It still has a sufficient motivation to say, yeah, do you know what, I'm prepared to back that, in the same way as some of these other people are prepared to back it. So that kind of cheered me up a little bit. That the only last point I wanted to make with regard, and I think maybe Agent of Doubt, I can't remember now, and I can't watch it because I can't find the fucking thing, but I think that he maybe said something along these lines as well, is that something else that might be going on is that it's almost as if, you know, like if there's a campaign, a charity campaign, and you have one of those sort of totalisators, you know, and you see the total going up, and it's like a bit of a, whoa, look how much we've raised now, that fucking bar's going up. That there's a little bit of that as well. That it's almost as if Rebecca Watson's total, or Thunderfoot's total, or whatever, it means something more than just the money that they're getting. It's almost as if that's representative of something. Look, you know, as if look how much support there is on our side, that this person who's a flag bearer for this position is getting this much revenue out of it, you know. So if you donate to Rebecca Watson, part of it you're thinking, yeah, I want to support Rebecca Watson financially, and and part of it is that you want to say, yeah, I want to show Rebecca, here's another person that's so on your side that they're going to give you a donation to back you up. But it's part of saying, look at Rebecca Watson, she's a flag bearer for our position, okay? And look how many people are donating, look how many people are actually supporting her. You know, there's part of that perhaps going on as well. So it's almost as if that total signifies something in and of itself. That's pretty much all that I wanted to say with regard to that. Yeah, that's it. Right, that's it. I don't have to do any more filming today. Bye.